Like, it's just so sad to see where we've come, like, to see that there are millennials out there working 2 jobs
Yeah.
just to support themselves.
And then you're lazy.
And you're lazy. My favorite is go get an education. Education costs money.
Oh, yeah, and then you pay for it
I can't afford it. Okay, we'll take out a loan. My loans are way too high. You shouldn't have gotten that loan. That's the circular argument that goes out there about us educating ourselves and getting better in life.
And to piggyback off of what you said, and to just think about how do we pass down that backbone mentality, it's up to us as millennials to start using a spirit of generosity and honesty.
Yep.
When we get to the positions of power, the people below us need to be valued. And that's going to be up to us, because it's going to be difficult to pass down that backbone. But if you are paying people and allowing them to work regular hours for what they are worth, they're not going to have that problem.
I think that does have a lot to do with it. The lazy component is either when you recognize what you're doing, like the extra you're doing, and you kind of back off because you want people to recognize that you're doing way more than you originally intended, and then that's where lazy comes in. Or like you said, we have new adaptive ways of getting our work done with technology, or just like cutting out all of this long process that people did before us to make it a faster process. But then once we proved that we could do that, the demand upped. So now we're all stressed out.
Or it's all just to make them look good.
Yeah. Like, I agree with you. I think a lot of us are the type that's like, well, if I work hard enough, they'll recognize it. Do you think it's because we saw that work for our parents?
Because that's what used to be true.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's so unfortunate. Like, it's so unfortunate that that's how it should work, right? Like, if you're working hard and you're proving yourself, you should get the raise. You should get that without having to be asked. But it goes back to that greed, right? It goes back to, well, that means I get $1,000 less in my paycheck as the boss or as the CEO. So, like, I don't want to do that. So that's really unfortunate because it makes people feel so devalued. I think when you said the thing, I think there's always one thing that we pass down, and I think the backbone thing is going to be really important. If we don't teach our children to stand up for themselves, then their experience is going to be just as bad as ours, if not worse. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing with Gen Z now, is they're because they actually speak up a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But like, if we don't instill that in our children, then that's not going to pass down very well. For me, I would say that the 33 is probably about right, maybe more, especially over the interest that has accrued. My mom is a single mother, and so that was a challenge, obviously, and my mom took out loans. For me as well, I took out loans. And the way it's impacted me, I would say, is the housing thing. You know, like, I would love to have my own house, but, you know, there's just a lot to that. You know, like, you don't want to add more debt onto debt, you know. And I do think if there's a realtor or somebody in the comments, say it. But I think that, you know, that's one of the areas where it's not good debt. Like, I think it's still debt to income ratio. You know, other things, it's like, okay, well, you have college debt, but that's good debt, so it's okay. Not when you're buying a house. So we did work from home for a while, and I loved it. I loved working from home. I'm a graphic designer, so I could get a lot done from home, and that was really fun.
Awesome graphic designer, by the way.
Oh, thank you. But, you know, I did miss, you know, being on campus, because I got to see students, and part of my job is taking pictures and stuff like that. So I did miss doing that a lot, but I was fortunate to work through the entire pandemic. So was my husband, which was a blessing, because he was an essential worker. So thankfully he was able to keep his job, and I know a lot of people lost theirs. But
what was that like, being with an essential worker, someone who was going and risking, you know, at more of a risk? It was a little scary, you know, like you're always worried about, especially your significant other, your spouse. You don't want them to, you know, catch that virus. My husband does carpool people to work as well, so just being extra careful about who you're around, wearing masks. His company was really good about wearing masks and making sure whenever you're in clothes, because he's a landscaper, so when you're outside, you gotta, you know, stay apart. But it was good and bad, but
thankful for the income, you know. It's going to sound really bad, but I felt more bad. I felt more bad about leaving my dog and cat than I did about my husband.
Oh, wow.
Because my husband was working the whole time. So
Yes.
it's like, you know, I didn't see him during the day, but my dog and cat were so used to me being there, and they would like come in between my legs and just hang out underneath my desk, and then
Oh, yeah.
I was all of a sudden just gone again, and they were
Yes.
like
Wow.
really sad.
We
but
have to think about the pets.
Yes,
So
the
all the
pets.
bosses out there, if you're
Yes.
listening, please let us work from home as much
Yes.
as possible. I think as a generation, we speak for all of us that we
Yes.
love
Yes,
this.
and we love
Yes.
flexibility. Flexibility is
Yes.
important.
And
to
we
us.
still get our work done. That's the thing.
Yes.
Yes, and
I
if we
still
can
got my
also
work done.
right, and that's
Yeah.
what I thought was so cool. If I could take less stress off of myself by being able to get my work done and do little things like a load of laundry, wash my dishes, and not have to shove all of that into the few hours after work or your few hours on the weekend when you're not trying to go see your friends and your family and do things. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think it's definitely something that the older generation is going to have to take into serious consideration because, I mean, one, we see the Delta variant
Yep.
surging. I wouldn't be surprised if we go back home anytime soon.
Okay, next point, low wages and financial security is a big problem in our generation. When we do get a job, we're typically underpaid. The federal and state minimum wage here in North Carolina has been $7.25 an hour since, I believe, 2009, yet the cost of living has continued to soar. So, if you're comfortable with sharing, what's the lowest you've been paid, or was your pay worth what you were doing? If you want me to start, I can totally start.
You
Because
start.
as a reporter who, you know, fresh out of college, I was making $11 an hour, and I lived in Fayetteville.
So
and
fresh out of college?
Yes, fresh out of college, degree and everything. And when I left, I was still making $11 an hour as a features editor. So no, I was not getting paid what I was, what the work was. You know, and the job of a reporter, I know like that might be like taboo because, you know, fake news and whatnot. But when I was working as a reporter, I had crazy hours. Election time was crazy. I would be up until 4 or 5 in the morning and then have to come back at 7. And I lived here, and it was like a 30-40 minute drive, so definitely not worth the pay, but I love doing it, you know. But it was tough to do that on a college education, knowing, you know, $11 an hour. I would say something I do is I try to meditate. I'm a Christian also, so I pray and, you know, listen to Christian music and kind of get relaxed that way, especially when I'm really stressed. And I've also, the older I've gotten, realized when I need a break. You know, like when I was younger and fresh out of college, I was like raring to go, and I'm like, I can do this, I can do all this stuff. And now I'm more apt to say, you know, like I'm overwhelmed, I need to take some time, I need a mental health day, you know, and those are really important. And with that being said, I think that employers, that would be a great thing to offer to their employees as a part of their benefit packages, mental health care, coverage for those things, as well as mental health days, you know, and that wouldn't be as taboo as it still is, unfortunately, to have mental health days, because, you know, there are those stories, I've never experienced this, but there are those stories where people are like, I just need a day, and their boss is just not understanding about it. And, you know, studies have proven that when you give people time to
Yes.
recharge, they do a better job.
Absolutely.
And so it would be amazing if more employers would recognize that need and fill it.
Yeah. It is not shameful to go get a therapist.
No.
And
Okay.
I know this might be taboo with some people, but sometimes you need medical intervention
Yes.
as well. We've got a poet, we've got a tutoring.
Tutor.
You have your tutoring and you have your farm.
Your
That's
farm.
very cool.
Cool.
And I think we had a couple on our board before. We had
Yes.
Pavin, who owns a ton of businesses in the area. Zach, I think, owns his own tax
Business.
but
yeah.
I think everyone else is working for the man.
You kind of work for the man.
I do too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
chose that life.
So mine is really weird. Okay, you know how some people have like celebrity crushes? I have celebrity dad crush. So my mom's single,
Oh.
and I've always wanted this person to be my father, and it's Jack Black.
Ooh, okay.
I love
Very
I think Jack Black is in. He is so energetic and funny.
I thought you were getting ready to invite your crush to the families.
No. This is the man that wishes was my father.
Jonathan, come with Gabbie.
I just think it would be so fun. Like, he's very energetic.
That is true.
My favorite movie is School of Rock because it's music based and it's Jack Black. So I always, whenever there's a question about that, unless it's a dead person, that's a different answer. But Jack Black is the